part 2. Another pair of angles could be adjacent angles. If you just think about the word adjacent means next to. So two angles that are next to each other are adjacent angles, but it gets a little bit more complex than that. So if I have two angles that are next to each other, for them to be adjacent, they have to share a common endpoint. They also have to share a common side. And then one's not like enclosed in another, or one's not in the interior of another. Here's what I mean by that. So if I let this be angle A, and then angle B has a common endpoint and a common side, this side right here, if I made this blue angle, angle B, these actually would not be adjacent angles. So one can't be on the interior of the other. But these two angles, I'm going to call them angles 1 and 2, are adjacent angles. They share a common endpoint right here and a common side. And then they're not, or one is not in the interior of another. So adjacent angles, two angles, share a common vertex and side. Going back to another definition or term that we covered earlier on in 1.6, if I have a pair of angles that are both adjacent and supplementary, it's possible. First of all, you could have two supplementary angles that are non-adjacent, because I could have two completely separate angles that are supplementary. Let me show you an example real quick. One angle is 20 degrees, and the supplement of that is 160 degrees. These two angles are supplementary angles, but they don't necessarily have to be adjacent. If I have a pair of adjacent angles that are supplementary, if they're adjacent, they have to share a common side and endpoint. So let's just say this angle is 20 degrees, this is 160 degrees, and the 20 plus 160 is 180. So they're adjacent, they're supplementary. Then they form what's known as a linear pair. If you look at the textbook definition for a linear pair, it says that linear pair have to add up to 180 and also have opposite rays that are not the non-common side. But the linear pair, the way that I drew them, are just two angles that are both adjacent and supplementary. So these two angles right here form a linear pair. It's also true that their non-common side are opposite rays.